Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming out this afternoon. I do especially want to thank the people who are here with me, but more than that, the people who have been engaged here for the last 5 or 6 days with respect to this fire. And the big message at the moment is it is not contained. And by the way, it is not just one fire. We have fires all over the state of Louisiana, but particularly here in southwest Louisiana between Beauregard and Vernon parishes, obviously the center of gravity, but people shouldn't think that this is just the one area between Singer, where we are, and Maryville Junction and DeRidder. These fires are north of that in Vernon Parish and now south in Bancroft in a way that is very alarming. We just conducted a flyover of some of the impacted areas. We're able to have a meeting with local officials and had the good fortune of actually being there when they had an update briefing. So we were able to hear what all of the locals are doing and what their concerns are, what their resource requests are. This is a very difficult situation. And I kind of want to start where I was with the folks just a few minutes ago from here in Beauregard Parish. Nobody alive in Louisiana has ever seen these conditions. It's never been this hot, this dry, or this long. And to have these fires burning the way that they are and jumping fire lines, and when the wind picks up, to have the fires burning in the crowns of trees rather than on the ground and low where they can be more easily contained, it makes for a very difficult and dangerous situation. D4, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that's what this region is in. It's the most severe form of drought that the Weather Service monitors and puts a label on. And every day that we go with triple-digit heat indices and triple-digit heat, because we've been over 100 degrees, period, the increase in the severity of the drought and of the conditions, it's not mathematical, it's exponential. And so we went from one day having nothing in the state being D4 to the next day an awful lot in D4, and today even more. It's a very difficult situation. That is why there is a statewide burn ban in place. And I'm here with the Commissioner of Agriculture who presides over all the prescribed burning for agricultural purposes and for typically what we would do in forests and so forth, to tell you there is no legal burning anywhere in the state of Louisiana for any purpose right now. He issued his own orders today. I issued mine. And it's not just burning. We're asking people to be careful. If you should not be lighting a barbecue grill outside anywhere in the state of Louisiana today. And I know some people are going to say, well, that sounds awfully silly. They're over in Beauregard Parish. Well, guess what? We're having fires in Tangipahoa and Washington. We're having them in Rapides Parish. There is a huge fire in St. John the Baptist Parish right now. And so we only have so many resources to allocate to fires. And once you're out, you're out. And we're requesting additional assistance from the federal government, from sister states, and it is starting to arrive now, and we're very thankful. But we all need to do our part. So please, properly dispose of cigarettes, secure chains on vehicles before you travel, don't operate vehicles and equipment on dry grass. The changing winds are a huge issue. You know, we wanted rain yesterday, and when we finally realized we might have an afternoon thunderstorm, some of us thought that would be a good thing. But we got very little rain. The wind picked up as high as 40 miles an hour and had lightning strikes. Exactly what you don't want when you have these drought conditions. So we have very dangerous conditions, and they get more dangerous in the afternoon when these thunderstorms are coming through, and more are forecasted for today. And I was telling the commissioner a minute ago, you get an update on where the fires are and where the evacuations are and what the most essential information is, and within 20 minutes it's old because things are moving that fast. And so I'm asking people to please be mindful of everything that's going on. Just to give you some idea, in the month of August, as of this morning, 441 different forest fires, over 30,000 acres burn. We've not seen that before. When the crowns of trees catch on fire and these winds pick up, and by the way, these fires can be so big and so intense that they create their own weather, so to speak, and they create wind currents. They're taking burning embers and transporting those through the wind miles away from the fire. And anywhere that ember lands, you're subject to having another fire. So just because you may be located miles away from the nearest known fire, it doesn't mean that you're safe, and you have to be very vigilant. And so I'm asking people to be aware, vigilant, and cautious, but I'm also asking people to follow the directions of their local officials. They have a very good coordinated effort working with so many people to try to figure out where the fires are, what directions they're heading, who's in danger. Because when these things start moving, they move faster than you can imagine. So if you're told that you need to evacuate, you really need to evacuate. Especially since in some of the areas that are being evacuated, the water pressure is extremely low. You're not going to be able to fight a fire if you thought that that was going to be possible. Let me tell you, it's not. You may not have gas service to your home anyway, and your electricity is likely out. So you really don't want to be there anyway, and I'm going to ask you to be selfless, because if you put yourself in danger, you're going to have first responders coming to try to save you when you shouldn't be causing that problem for yourself or for them, and those resources ought to be engaged in firefighting. So I want to go through some numbers here. Louisiana National Guard has right at 100 soldiers active in this area in the firefight. They're authorized to go up to 300 as they need to do that. They have helicopter crews that began dropping water August the 23rd here to assist Louisiana Department of Ag and Forestry, and I want to thank the commissioner and all of his folks for the work that they've been doing, and you're going to hear from him in just a minute, but also to support the State Fire Marshal's Office. This was this morning, and as we were flying in, we could see the helicopters operating, picking up water and dropping it. So these numbers are old. But as of this morning, they had moved 348 loads of water. Close to 161,000 gallons had been dropped on the affected area. They're using 5 Black Hawk helicopters. Currently, one additional helicopter is on standby. I want you to know we've also requested assistance from other states. We're getting that assistance. Tomorrow morning, we should have in the firefight a CH-47 Chinook helicopter coming out of Oklahoma. That's very helpful because it can drop 6 times as much water as the Bambi buckets that we can support with the UH-60s that we have available through the Louisiana National Guard. We also have firefighters and tanker trucks and other resources coming out of Texas and Mississippi. We've engaged the U.S. Forest Service. I've been on the phone several times today with Secretary Vilsack, and we have a team from the Forest Service that's going to come in bed with Commissioner Strain's folks, and that's going to be happening over the next couple of days, but additional air support resources have already been ordered for that. We have 16 bulldozers from the National Guard that's operating, or 6 that are operating. I think 10 more on the way at the moment. State police troopers are actively assisting in this area. I know we put 14 additional troopers in Beauregard to work with the sheriff to help effectuate these evacuations, but also to do traffic control. Speaking of traffic control, I know you should never have to say something like this, but we always do. It is a terrible time to think you ought to go sightseeing in the areas of these wildfires. There's so much that these first responders have to do. Don't unnecessarily add to their burdens. It's not safe to do it. Many roads are closed, and so you're liable to get close and not be able to get where you want to go anyway. And for those people who simply have to travel for emergency reasons, be very, very careful, especially at night. But even during the daytime, the smoke can make visibility 0. And you're out on a highway, and it happens all of a sudden, and that can be extremely dangerous. There are some individuals in shelters. I think there were 59 or so overnight. There are shelters open, and we can give you that information. Here in Beauregard, I know that those 2 shelters are in DeRidder, one at the Methodist Church and one at the Baptist Church. And the vast majority of people are finding friends and relatives that are in a safe place that they can go stay with. And obviously that's probably more comfortable for them, and it's less burden on the people who actually need to be sheltered. So that's obviously something that we encourage people to do. If you're on the roadway, and you shouldn't be if it's not necessary, please look for emergency responders working alongside the roadway, because the roads themselves are sometimes the most effective fire breaks that we have. But if you've been paying attention, you know that the fires are routinely jumping the state highways. And so just think about the width of those rights-of-ways, and the fire is jumping those rights-of-way and continuing to grow uncontained. If there's any good news to report right now, it's that we've not been told of a single fatality. And that means that people are being cautious. They are doing what they're being asked for the most part. And they are a lot of good work by first responders. And good decision-making by local officials, and you're going to hear from the sheriff in just a moment. So please follow all state government announcements, your local announcements from your authorities here. Pay attention to the local news, the social media, and so forth. 511 is a good place to go. It's 511la.org. It is real-time road closures, and obviously, in the event of emergency, call 911, or you can call the Department of Ag and Forestry hotline 24 hours a day at 855-452-5323. So this is an ongoing emergency. I wish we could tell you today when it's going to be over. The National Weather Service has briefed us that the highest chance of rain that we've had in any time recently will be Tuesday night. Well, it's just now Friday. And that chance of rain as of right now is 50%. And if it's not a good, hard, sustained rain, we're not sure that it's going to have the impact that we need it to have. So at this time, I'm going to ask Commissioner Strain to come up and share with you all what his folks are doing. And I can tell you, they're putting in a tremendous Herculean effort. And I know he'll be followed by the sheriff, and then after that, we will take some questions.
Thank you, Governor. And thank all of you for being here today to help us get out the word on what's going on and what we need to do. Now, Governor, first of all, I want to thank you for your work and for your service, and also your entire team. Sheriff, you and your team, and all of the locals and all the men and women in the fire service. This is unprecedented. We've never had to fight this many fires simultaneously and of this duration and this intensity. We're fighting between 25 and 30 fires today as we speak, as we're standing right here. We have 9 active fires, some new, and those fires are anywhere from a small, maybe 50 to 100 acres to several thousand acres, and we have a full court press. We will continue to fight these fires until they are extinguished. We will bring every asset to bear that we have and any others that we can find from anywhere. The governor has assured me, he's given me his word, that whatever I spend, we'll be able to get the money back. Right? I say that publicly, but no, but actually, whatever it takes, whatever it takes. And so we continue to fight right now as we speak. We have 10 of our units here, 9 650s and 1 750. We've had as many as 19 and 20. Some of the fire lines we have plowed lines 8 and 10 wide, and the fire still jumps it. And if you wonder how it jumps it, just take a look at the videos when it's burning hot. You'll see those embers going several hundred feet in the air. They have found ash that is still burning 20 miles away from the site of this fire. So again, everybody working together, the local fire departments, and doing everything to continue to do that. We are bringing in additional assets. I've ordered 4 strike teams to our compact. Well, the first one is coming from Florida. They come totally self-contained, their own equipment, their own personnel, their own assets, and they will be operational on Sunday. We've ordered an additional 3. Each strike team brings about 40 personnel, 5 bulldozers. We're working with the National Forest Service, working with the Costache, because we share, we have a signed agreement with them. So they've been loaning us assets, and we also fight fires there. We have a number of assets coming through the USDA. And again, I want to thank Lang, I want to thank you, General, I want to thank you. So I can tell you, without these water drops, we would have not been able to contain what we have done so far. That has proved invaluable. As they drop the water, we get the dozers in as close as we can to push the fire back. And then you've seen those very large tankers coming in and dropping repellents. So you say, why is this happening? What is going on? This is probably the most intense drought we have seen in generations, during my tenure, and we look back in the records, we have never had a fire season where we've had fires of this magnitude that we have recorded in the archives. So it is unprecedented. And we're going to bring every asset that we have to bear. And again, everyone is working very hard. There are fires like this in Texas, other parts of the United States, so we're having to reach out far to get those assets. Everyone has been cooperating, and we can do everything that we can. Also today, I issued an executive order for all types of burning, including agricultural burning, which is generally protected by statute, to cease and desist. Prescribed burns are not allowed because of the weather conditions, but under my constitutional authority, I ordered to cease and desist on all burning, and the governor has under his constitutional authority doing the same thing. So nobody should be burning anything for any reason. And that's the message. A lot of these fires we are fighting today is because someone lit a match to burn a brush pile or for other reasons. This has got to stop, because as you heard from our governor, we are concerned about depletion of assets. Our job is not to let that happen. My job right now is to save the town of Maryville, and I told our firefighters whatever it takes at whatever cost. So they're working now to divert the fire around Maryville. We are praying for rain, knowing that we probably won't see it. And again, when you see these gusts of winds, they blow those embers. So even when we contain the fire, that fire is not dead until we get rain and everything is extinguished. So again, thank you, and get that message out. And remember, that only you can prevent wildfires. But we got to say it over and over and over again. Because again, we're fighting fires across the entire state. And the intensity of the drought, the D3 and the D4 now is reaching the entire state. And unfortunately, it's going to be with us for a while. Thank you. Sheriff?
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Governor, for all of the assets that you have provided. Thank you to the state police, to the National Guard. We've been blessed with a tremendous amount of assistance for this fire. I've been with the department for about 32 years, and I can honestly say I've never seen any fire that looks anything like this, nor near this size. I just want to give you a little bit of information on the law enforcement side. So over the course of the last several days, we've started off issuing voluntary evacuation orders. Almost every one we've eventually had to come back and issue a mandatory evacuation order. It's very hard to predict with this fire because the winds pretty much dictate everything. So if we put out a mandatory evacuation order, it's because that fire is approaching whatever area that is, and we believe that it's a significant risk to stay in that area. So the winds may change it maybe 10, 15 minutes after we've issued the order, but I know that it's inconvenient for people to pack a bag and leave, but trust me when I tell you, we don't take issuing those orders lightly, and if we issue them, we need you to comply with them. We need you to pack your stuff and go, and if it does change and nothing happens in your neighborhood, that's not anything to be frustrated about. That's a miracle that it didn't do what we were expecting it to do. So we would just, ask. In fact, we just put out another mandatory evacuation order about 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, for the Bivens or Bancroft area down 389, from Bancroft all the way to the parish line south on both sides of the road. We have a fire that broke out there. It's actually a reignite, I think, on a fire that we've been fighting for several days already. But when we ask you to leave, you need to please comply with us and leave. And as the governor and the commissioner said, we are getting calls still daily about, you know, they're watching their neighbors thump cigarette butts out of the car windows. Please don't do that. Like the commissioner said, there is no reason at all whatsoever to have open flame outside at this point. We just can't afford it. We've got local firemen and local police that have been running this thing actually for 2 weeks or more, and to be quite honest, they're exhausted. You know, and thankfully we have our state and national partners that have jumped in to help us, but we really could use the public to help us as well. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, if you have any questions, and you can ask a question, and hopefully we have somebody up here that can answer it. Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to ask for an update on property damage, livestock, as well as air quality.
Okay, I am not prepared to address any of those three things, but if somebody here is.
I can give you a general assessment on livestock, not including these fires, but as of last week, we're estimating the drought and the associated problems somewhere around $260 million. A big issue is the loss of forage, the loss of hay, the loss of pasture, and you're seeing a lot of livestock being liquidated. Now, when you start looking at the cost of timber, you're looking at between $1,000 and $1,500 per acre. That is a minimum cost of what is being lost. So if you look at 15,000 acres, you multiply that by about $1,500 an acre, and that can pretty much get you what it's going to cost. So what's there, most of it is totally lost, and it's going to have to be plowed under and replanted.
Are the animals out of harm's way?
So far, we have not had any call to evacuate or move the animals. Most of those are in pasture, and so they're not in the wooded areas. We've seen, we've looked as we've flown over. We haven't seen any animals in harm's way. It's mostly we've lost some barns, we've lost some homes, and lost some structures. So we have not had any calls on livestock being in imminent danger. Okay? Thank you.
Anything else? All right, well, thank you all for coming out to cover this. This remains a very dangerous and fluid situation, and it will be until it's over. We don't know when that's going to be. But until that happens, we need the cooperation of everybody. But it just simply is unfair and is wrong to add to the problems we're currently experiencing because somebody just decides that they need to light that fire, or they need to go visit and see what's going on, and they get themselves hemmed up in the fire and so forth. So please, everybody, do what you can to help out, and mostly by doing little in this area. And we do ask for prayers. We ask prayers for these firefighters. We ask prayer for the drought. We need rain, all of that. Y'all know I'm one, like the vast majority of our state. I believe in the power of prayer, so I would ask people to pray for that as well. And rest assured, we will do everything we can to continue to bring in every resource from wherever we might find it that will assist us in getting the situation back under control as soon as possible. Thank you.